Hi there, this is Ranjit, and in this video we'll be doing the full in-depth review for this Samsung Galaxy A5, which is a sort of a premium mid-range device by Samsung, and this is based on the new Galaxy A series. And the unique thing about these Galaxy A series devices is that the entire phone is made up of metal. Finally, Samsung has moved from plastic to metal, and I have been using this Galaxy A5 for over 2 weeks now. So I'll be sharing the pros and cons with this device in this video. So this is the Samsung Galaxy A5 that we have, and it's a pretty sleek handset. And the unique thing, as I mentioned, is this entire back is also made up of aluminum. So entire casing, this casing also is made up of metal, and we have that chamfered edges if you notice. Hence, the phone looks actually pretty good to look at and hold. And the screen size is a 5-inch screen, which is a 720p HD screen, and it's a Super AMOLED screen. And the screen quality that Samsung has put is actually very good with great viewing angles, as you can see. And it does have all the sensors and auto brightness also. And before we proceed, let me give you a physical overview first. On the top, actually we have nothing over here, and on this end we have the power on off button. Here if you look closely, we have two slots, and one is for the nano SIM, and the second slot is very interesting. You can either add your second nano SIM on this one or a micro SD card. So you got to decide if you want to have the micro SD card or the second SIM. For testing, I have added one nano SIM, and the second slot I added a micro SD card. So with this device, though it's a duos device, you have to decide if you want to use the micro SD card or the second SIM. And moving towards the bottom, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, the micro USB slot that will be used for charging this device, and on this end we again have the volume rocker. Moving towards the back, we have the 13 megapixel rear facing camera, LED flash, and this is the opening for the speaker. The speaker output is just okay in my opinion. We have the Samsung branding and the duos. Again, this back is also made up of metal, that is aluminum. Hence the feel of this device is very good. Moving to the front facing camera, it's a 5 megapixel shooter with Samsung branding, and here we have the earpiece, and the actual cellular call quality that also got with this device was pretty good. One thing to note is that yes, it has auto brightness sensor, but we do not have any physical LED notification light. Samsung just skipped that. So it is silly for Samsung to not have that. On the bottom, we have the two touch type capacitive buttons, and they light up when you click them. And the first one is for the multitasking, and the second one is for the back. If you hold this multitasking tray for a while, it also acts as a menu button. And again, this is the new interface that we see. And again, if you look at it, it is very familiar to what we saw on the Note 4. So we have this one, and it works actually pretty well. Regarding the options also here, we do have a lot of options. If you click here, as you can see, we do get a lot of options, and we even get the ultra power saving mode. And also do note that we do get NFC in this dual SIM variant. But one thing to note is that as this back is made up of metal, the battery is not user replaceable. The battery is a sealed battery, and it's a 2300 milliamp hour battery. And as I mentioned, I did all my testing with a single SIM and a micro SD card slot inserted, and I would say the battery life was pretty decent. I would say it could last me for a working day, but again, I would say if you use both the SIMs, then it might be a little bit short to my liking. Now let me actually show you the Android version that comes with this device. And if we go to system and about the device, as you can see, it runs on the Android version 4.4.4, that is KitKat. Samsung hasn't mentioned if this device will get the Lollipop update, but I am assuming this device will get it. Another good thing with this device is that Samsung did not skimp on the storage. The internal storage is 16 gigabytes. So you have plenty of storage. And as I did mention, we can also add a micro SD card. As you can see, I added a micro SD card to this device. So storage is not an issue in my opinion. Also regarding RAM, we have 2 gigs of RAM. Thereby, multitasking is also pretty smooth on this device. And it does run the TouchWiz UI, which actually it handles it pretty well. It is powered by a Snapdragon 410 chipset, which is a quad core processor, and it's actually 64-bit enabled. But again, don't get me wrong, it's not a very fast processor, it's just a mid-range processor, and it handles this device pretty well for day-to-day activities. But occasionally, I would say, I do see that minor TouchWiz lag here and there. And I would say Samsung did a good job in optimizing this device, because though yes, that lag is there sometimes, but I hardly notice it. Maybe I would say 95% of the time this device functions pretty well. Now as we are connected, let's fire up the web browser. We do get two browsers, that's the Chrome web browser. Let's fire that up, and the default browser also that we have by Samsung, and it's going to the Samsung website. Let's just go to redef.com. Another good thing is regarding Wi-Fi, it supports both the 2.4 GHz as well as the 5 GHz band. And if you notice how quickly it loaded this web page, let's go to the full screen, the desktop mode, and let's request that. Again, if you notice how quickly it is loading. I would say the performance of this device, as you can see, general performance was actually very good. Let's just open up one of the random stories. For example, let's just open this story. Again, if you notice how quickly it loaded. So in terms of web browsing, the performance of this device was pretty good. And again, as it has 2 gigs of RAM, even multitasking was pretty decent experience. Let's now switch to YouTube videos. For example, let's play this video. And as you can see, it is playing this video. And this is at max volume. And let me actually show you the quality setting. It can go to max of 720p on YouTube videos, as the screen resolution is 720p. But as you can see, the viewing angles are also very good, and it handles it without any issues. But the speaker volume is a little bit low to my liking, I would say. But in terms of YouTube videos, and even I tried to play some 1080p clips that I loaded on this device, it played them without any issues. But now coming to one con that I have with this device is that USB OTG support is simply not there on this device. So Samsung skimped on that also, and I feel it's a very silly omission in my opinion. Now when we talk about the general in-hand feel of this device, the in-hand feel of this device was again very good. And if you notice, we can also make video calls with this. I'll actually show you the cellular speaker quality by just making one call. Let's dial this number and I'll keep it on speakerphone. As I mentioned, the speakerphone is just average, it's okay.
The smartphone network welcomes you to one-to-one care. Our menu options have been changed. Please listen carefully.
This was at max volume, and the speaker struggles up a little bit on max volume, I would say. But in cellular call quality, it was pretty good. Now if we move to gaming also, I did quite a bit of gaming on this device also, and I played some heavy games also like Asphalt 8 and even Modern Combat 5. And the good thing is that this device handled them without any issues. So for gaming also, it's a pretty good device. And do note that the internal storage is pretty good on this device. Thereby you can load a lot of games. Now if we move to the camera performance, the rear facing camera is a 13 megapixel shooter, and the camera performance that I got from this device was also very good. The pictures it can take outdoors are very good, but in very low lighting conditions and in artificial light, it does tend to struggle up a little bit because there is no optical image stabilization. Now if we move to the front facing camera, which is a 5 megapixel shooter, I would say I was very impressed with the quality that I got with the front facing camera. If you take a lot of selfies and even shoot videos from the front facing camera, then you'll be really impressed. Even the front facing camera can record video in full HD, that is 1080p. So I'm pretty happy regarding the front facing as well as the rear facing camera on this device. So what do I feel about the Samsung Galaxy A5? Before I give you my verdict, let's talk about the pros and cons with this device. The first pro of this device is the actual build quality, and in the looks department, I would say Samsung has done a very good job. And I have to say, this is one of the best looking Samsung Android phones out there. Also in terms of build quality, it feels very nice in the hand. Though it's made up of metal and aluminum, it is pretty, light to hold. Hence, it is very comfortable to hold. Also, though it has a quad core processor, which is just a mid-range processor, that's the Snapdragon 410, it handles the device very well. And the good thing is that it has 16 gigs of internal storage and 2 gigs of RAM. Thereby, even in multitasking, the performance of this device was pretty good. Now, when we move to the cameras, I was really happy with the camera performance. The 13 megapixel rear-facing camera as well as the front-facing camera performed very well. So overall, I would say it's a pretty decent Android device. But now coming to some of the cons with this device, I would say yes, though it's a dual SIM device, but the implementation is not that great. For example, if you want to use the SD card, then you can only use a single SIM. And do note that this device uses the nano SIM, so you got to be a little bit careful. One thing I do not really like about this device is that Samsung has not even put a physical LED notification light on this device, and also it does not support USB OTG, which is very silly in my opinion for not having those options on a mid-range device that is costing almost around 25,000, that is almost $400. Now to conclude, I would say this Galaxy A5 is a pretty decent Android device, but certainly you are sort of paying a premium for the metallic finish. But if you are okay with that, then certainly it's a pretty decent device by Samsung. I have also posted several other videos on this device, like its camera review and gaming review, so make sure you check them out. And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. This is Ranjit and I hope to see you in my next video.